There are a lot of theories and speculation about the timeline during which dinosaurs existed and what happened to them. But there is one thing everyone agrees upon. They existed millions of years ago, and one significant discovery cracked the case of how they died off. A paleontologist discovered the cause of their death and what happened the first few minutes after dinosaurs went extinct. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video, so stick around to find out. So, if you stood somewhere in North America on a specific evening about a few 60 million years ago, you would have looked up in the sky and seen what appears to be a shooting star. If you kept on observing it for a good hour or two, you'd realize that it's growing and shining brighter, even though it appears to have barely moved. Pretty fishy, right? That's because what you'd be looking at wouldn't be a star, but an asteroid that's headed straight for Earth. 60 million years ago, this asteroid was approaching the Earth at an alarming speed of nearly 45,000 miles per hour. Nearly 60 hours later, the asteroid hit and all life forms were dead. This asteroid compressed the air in the atmosphere and violently heated it, creating a hole in the atmosphere and generating a supersonic shockwave. This particular asteroid crashed in a shallow sea where the Yucatan Peninsula is situated today. At that specific moment, the Cretaceous period ended and the Paleogene period began. So how did they figure all this out? Well, they did so with the help of some of the world's most powerful supercomputers a few years ago at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. The supercomputer known as the Q machine was able to model the effects of the impact. What it created was a slow-motion recreation of the event that happened millions of years ago. 2 minutes after the asteroid, which is estimated to be nearly 60 miles wide, slammed into Earth, it had managed to gouge a crater about 18 miles deep. Yes, you heard right, it hauled an incredible 5 trillion metric tons of debris into the atmosphere. To put things into perspective, imagine the splash of a pebble in a pond of water, but on a planetary scale. In response to the impact, the Earth's crust rebounded and created a peak that was higher than Mount Everest. You'd imagine the impact to look something like a nuclear explosion paired with a mushroom cloud, but surprisingly, the impact created a rooster tail with a gigantic jet of molten material that managed to escape the atmosphere, while some of it fanned over North America. You'd be surprised to know that much of this material was estimated to be hotter than the surface of the sun. It managed to set fire to everything within a 1,000-mile radius. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, as an invented cone of liquefied superheated rock rose from the ground and spread out numerous blobs of red-hot glass called tektites that blanketed the western hemisphere. Considering the magnitude of the collision, some of the ejecta managed to escape the gravitational pull of the Earth and created irregular orbits around the Sun. Over the course of millions of years, this former ejecta made its way to other planets and moons across the solar system. Some of the debris found its way to Mars. It sounds comical that pieces of Earth can be found on Mars. But what's even more comical is the fact that pieces of Mars have been found on Earth due to similar collisions. A study in 2013 found in the Journal of Astrobiology claims that thousands of pounds of impact debris might have landed on the moon of Saturn, Titan, Europa, and Callisto, which orbit Jupiter. Scientists speculate that this debris may have been harboring living microbes. This means that life might exist throughout the solar system, even though the asteroid ravaged life on Mars. The asteroid in question basically vaporized as it collided with Earth. Its substance created a fiery plume that escaped halfway to the moon before it caved in on itself into a pillar of dust. Measurements of the ash and soot that covered the Earth indicate that fires basically took over 70% of the world's forest. To make matters worse, giant tsunamis created by the impact swept across the Gulf of Mexico and tore up coastlines. The tsunamis pushed hundreds of feet of rock inland and then sucked it back into the deep waters. This created jumbled deposits that oilmen encounter when they drill deep into the ocean, even to this day. You'd figure the damage had been done, but that was just the beginning. The dust and soot created by the impact basically blocked all of the sunlight pouring down on Earth. For months on end, plants had no access to the sunlight they so dearly craved, and as a result, most of the plant life on Earth started to die out. Phytoplanktons in the ocean were no more, and the oxygen levels of the planet dropped drastically. the fires ended, and the Earth was plunged into a period of extreme cold, or perhaps even deep freeze. All the essential food chains on Earth collapsed overnight, and more than 99.99% of all living organisms died out. The carbon cycle, which we study today, was basically no more. Earth became extremely toxic. When the asteroid hit, it vaporized limestone, and this released trillions of tons of carbon dioxide, billions of tons of methane, and billions of tons of carbon monoxide, which are all potent greenhouse gases. Anhydrite rock was completely vaporized too, which launched 10 trillion tons of sulfur compounds into the atmosphere. The sulfur combined with water to form sulfuric acid, ravaged any of the remaining plant life on Earth, and leached the nutrients from the soil. The debris, ash, and soot that ravaged the Earth millions of years ago are now preserved in the Earth's sediment as a stripe of black that is about the thickness of a book. This is known as the KT boundary because it makes a line that divides the Cretaceous period and the Paleogene period. You'd be surprised to know that after the Cretaceous extinction event, some plants still manage to survive because their seeds and pollen can survive harsher conditions for longer periods of time. You'd be surprised to know that after the event officially ended, flowering plants started to dominate the Earth, which was a continuing process that began long ago in the Cretaceous period and continues to this day. But all land animals that weighed over 25 kilograms were long gone. What we're left with are basically the seeds of what we have today. Many of the animals that are still alive today were found before the asteroid impact, and they did suffer some level of extinction, but they managed to find life once again. All of the non-bird dinosaurs died out instantly, but the dinosaurs managed to survive in the form of birds. The initial survivors were extremely small, and birds were the first to experience evolution into larger sizes. The lineage of gigantic birds, whether they were predatory or herbivores, died out and went extinct. You'd think after a planetary catastrophe like that, the planet would never recover, but Mother Nature prevailed once again. It was around 15 million years ago, during the Oligocene epoch, that really big mammals started to appear once again. Earth got its first batch of rhino-sized animals, but up until that point, it was a world filled with really small animals. It took a while for body size to catch up. Dinosaurs were the biggest land animals to have ever lived, and the only animals that have ever exceeded their sizes were whales. Dinosaurs are long gone, that's for sure, but it doesn't hurt to hypothesize. Could dinosaurs have survived? If the impact happened anywhere else on the planet, then it could have been possible for the circumstances to be quite different. If it had collided minutes later, the asteroid would have fallen into deeper waters, causing less rock to vaporize. This would mean that the sun's light and warmth would have made it to Earth, and the possibility of mass extinction would have been drastically low. If the dinosaurs' reign hadn't ended abruptly, we might have gotten to see some weird birds today. Experts claim that if the asteroid didn't hit, the dinosaurs might have survived for a little longer, but modern birds, reptiles, and mammals had already started to develop, so they might not have dominated as they once did. It's possible we could have gotten to gaze our eyes at some awesome dinosaurs and gotten to pet a few of those scaly creatures if a few species still survived, but that's a theory for another day. And that's pretty much it for the first few minutes that the dinosaurs went extinct. Join us on our journey as we look into the mysteries of evolutionary history in the future. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below, and tune in next time for more amazing content. Till then, see you later and goodbye.